Hi, welcome to Eye Openers. I'm your host, Brittany Drozd, and each week I bring you insightful conversations with entrepreneurs that will help you make more money, become a strong leader, and build a business culture that you're proud of. Grab your coffee and let's dive in. Hello, and welcome to Eye Openers. You guys, I have something a little different planned for you today, but I'm sure you'll find it equally valuable. I had a moment of insight when looking through some literature by David Goggins, who is a former Navy SEAL turned best-selling author turned civilian leadership expert. And in support of Memorial Day, I wanted to share with you some of his leadership insights, things he's learned um, through being a Navy SEAL and his transition and integration back into civilian life. And I am certain that there are some eye-opening moments here that you will gain from this and take into your leadership experience in your business and in your life. You see, there's so many instances where we turn to the military and looking at how they create culture and shape leaders to better understand human behavior, getting buy-in, what we need to do to drive performance. Now, a military type setting is not the right culture for everybody, for every business, but there are certainly some things we can take away from it. There's this fascinating quote that David Goggins shares, which is that most of us are not defeated in the moments of actual combat. It's usually the days and weeks and months leading up to it. It's the training. So, what is he saying here? It's not about the battle. It's not about the actual moment of combat. It's about your training. So, what are you doing every day? What are you doing every morning when you wake up? What are the habits that you have that are either supporting your peak performance or hindering it? And while most of us are not going into combat every day, it's such a great analogy or almost visualization, illustrative example of what sometimes work or running a business can feel like, right? Going into battle, wanting to put our armor on. What do we do to, prepare us the absolute best to manage all the challenges that we're going to face? And on any given day, my gosh, it could be a slew of challenges. I had a business owner the other day that went to their retail location and all the windows were smashed in. What's the first thing you need to do? Like, you're going to have 100 emotions coming up for you. And what do you need to do to manage that situation? In my husband's business, we're currently, stuck waiting for building permits in order to move that forward. How do you change your projections and adjust your hiring and whatnot to reflect that new timeline? Like there's so many instances of maybe an employee not showing up for work that day that we're forced to manage in the moment. And so instead of just thinking about, okay, well, how do I manage these moments when they come up? What do you need to be doing to best prepare yourself, your mental strength, your physical strength for a peak performance in your life and in your business? So here were his top three, and then I added a fourth just for the icing on the cake here. Number one, embrace discomfort to become mentally and physically stronger. So this can look like so many things. This could be an early morning workout session. I know for me, I love giving back to myself first. It feels like I'm filling my own cup, I'm putting my own oxygen mask on. And when I literally do something to make myself stronger, it is reflected in the rest of the day. Instantly, I get this energy boost and I am immediately more effective and focused. But this doesn't have to be early morning exercise if that doesn't support your lifestyle. How about a morning meditation? Do you have a gratitude practice where you're calling into your focus the things that are already in your life that create an opportunity of being successful? Um, where do you need to take ownership of your actions and hold yourself accountable? So this is his number two. Take ownership of your actions and hold yourself accountable. What does that look like for you? Where are you out of integrity in this ownership? So many times I get on the phone with CEOs, executives, leaders, and they want to tell me about why everybody else is wrong or why somebody else is holding them back. Take accountability and ownership for what's happening in your part of the organization, whether that's you're the CEO on top or you run operations or finance or whatever it is. Take ownership. If something is not working on your team, hold the mirror up and think, what do I need to be doing differently to either have my team be more accountable, drive performance in a more positive way, or also create a culture of ownership throughout the organization? So, enough of blaming other people. Are they a part of it? Of course. But when you are the leader, it's for you to give your team the credit and for you to take all the ownership. This doesn't mean that you don't hold anybody else accountable, but it's up to you to create a culture of being accountable to each other and for us to take radical ownership of our actions and our performance in order to improve it. So, first, we've got to own it, then we can improve upon it. So, number one, just embrace discomfort. What can you do to train for your life and for your business performance? What are the things that will make you better mentally and physically? Number two is that taking ownership and holding yourself and others accountable. Number three, emphasize teamwork, collaboration, and communication for success. So this goes back to culture building. Emphasis is all about, how are we talking about this? How do people know? Well, that's in our communication. It's what we talk about. It's what we do. People are constantly watching what those in decision-making power spots do. So make sure you're modeling exactly what you want to see in others. Are you not paying attention during meetings and multitasking? Are you coming in later, taking longer lunch breaks, thinking the rules don't apply to you? Well, guess what? Everybody else is watching. So be mindful of that and be thoughtful about the culture you want to create. What kind of teamwork and collaboration do you want to see from members of your organization? And how do we communicate? Communicate, communicate, communicate. Did I say communicate? If you are unsure if somebody understands what they need to do, communicate it 10 more times. I'm not even exaggerating here. I've seen research that talks about somewhere between saying something 7 and 11 times for it really to land and to get the buy-in and the follow through that you're looking for. 7 to 11 times, people. So when in doubt, trust me, you're not communicating enough. Okay, so from David Goggins, these are the suggestions we have, right? In order to not get defeated in those moments of combat, in order to make sure we're training for the outcomes we're really looking for, we need to embrace discomfort to become mentally and physically stronger. We need to take ownership and hold ourselves accountable. And we need to emphasize that type of culture we're looking to build, which is teamwork, collaboration, and communication for success. I would add a fourth here, and I would add make sure that you are reflecting on performance to drive your own growth. So many people are focused on goal setting and looking forward. It's when you look backwards that you will find so many opportunities to improve how you're performing and create the desired outcomes that you're really looking for. We need to reflect on what actually happened, where we could have made a decision differently at what point in time, so that moving forward, when we're met with those opportunities, again, we recognize them and we can act differently in those moments. If we aren't able to identify, where the fork in the road was and where we needed to make different decisions and act differently, then we won't be able to recognize those opportunities moving forward. We can still set those goals and we will still miss the mark without reflection, without identifying, without diagnosing, what needs to be done differently. The other day, I ran through this example with a client and we weren't sure why they weren't having the profitability margin they were looking for because the revenue numbers were just increasing and increasing. So what did we do? We dug deep. We created workflows to collect data that was necessary. And then once we had all this data collected, we were able to go, aha, here's where all the money is going. So at this point, and this point, we can make different decisions now that we have more information to decrease the spend and increase the profit margin, right? But if we didn't do this post-project reflection and data collection, they would not have identified those moments and opportunities to make better, more informed decisions, which is ultimately creating the outcomes they're looking for. So here we have it with my addition. I would say that this is a really excellent guide to improving your performance in your life and your business so that we don't get beat up during the combat of the day-to-day, that our training is so, you know, aligned with the outcomes we're trying to create. And that's by embracing discomfort regularly for mental and physical strength, taking ownership, holding ourselves accountable. Number 3, emphasizing that teamwork, collaboration, and communication. And number 4, reflecting for our own growth and better decision-making moving forward. Well, here you have it. This is Leadership 101 from a former Navy SEAL, David Goggins, and best-selling author. And I want to just thank everybody for their service this Memorial Day. I am certainly grateful to live in the US, and I know that I have a lot of military members to thank for it. So I'm grateful for David Goggins, everyone else's service, and the valuable leadership lessons that we can learn from military. Thank you guys for listening. And until next time, keep looking for those eye-opening moments to improve your leadership and business success. Thanks for joining us this week on Eye Openers. Make sure to visit BrittanyDrose.com/podcast for this week's show notes. And if you found value in today's episode, I would so appreciate you giving us a rating on Apple Podcasts or share it with a friend. Also, don't forget to subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, or wherever you get your podcasts. This all helps to support the show.